My client got 126K in 0% business funding for his business and only 4 banks. So here on this breakdown, I'm going to show you exactly what data points that you need to have to get 126K for your business too as well. And I'm going to show you exactly which 4 banks that we went to if you stick all the way into the end. So without further ado, you know what? Let's go. What's going on? It's Colin Brown here from Business Credit Unlimited on back. So today we're going to talk about exactly which banks that my client went to for this 126K. I'm going to break down all of his relevant data points, and I'm going to show you what notes that you need to know about his business that allowed him to get to the point where he can get this much in funding, 6 figures in funding. Now that he can use this, or now that he has this, he can use this to grow his company. All right, which he's been doing. So that's amazing because for me, business funding is, it's great. But what I get from it, the gratitude that I get for doing what I do for my clients is actually seeing them use their business funding to grow their company. Because don't get it twisted. We're not getting this money just so we can sit on it, just so we can brag about how much money we got, right? And I think that's one kind of issue with a lot of people with business funding. Like, there's always talking about all these new bank this and this so and so giving out the bag. Like, you guys are, I don't know, just credit heads. I've talked about that before. Credit head, you just only interested in getting more credit, but you're not actually interested in using the funding to grow your company anyways. So let's look at the client's credit scores first. TransUnion 757, Experian 747, 759. So we did have to increase the client's credit score pretty much considerably before the client was actually ready to go ahead and go, because they had to decrease their credit utilization. But the next thing is oldest personal credit card was only 2022. And I say only, like, some of y'all may be like, oh, that's almost 3 years. Well, really, you're going to want at least like 3+ years normally, 3, really 5 years for best results. You want even more than that. This is not bad, right? I always do this with these breakdowns. I'm like, clients probably watch this like, what? You just talking about me like this? No, just saying that if I was creating a profile myself to fund, or if I'm looking for the absolute 100% ideal situation, then I'm going to prefer a personal credit card that's older, more seasoned. But this is not bad at all. 2022. But you see, you could take this and get, 125K plus in funding. So it's something to consider. The client was not over 524. Another interesting data point to me is that the highest credit card limit that the client had is 10K. Now, the minimum I want to see is 5K. I will not work with anyone that's less than 5K unless we have plans on actually building the client's profile first, which we do here and there for sure. But I won't apply. Like, we won't apply for funding if your highest credit card limit is not at least 5K. Okay. So 10K is double 5K, but it's still not the absolute highest. Normally I like to see like 15, 20, 25K, but 10K obviously is good enough. So if you're in a similar position, you're like, my credit history isn't like exactly 5 years yet. My highest credit limit is 7,500, whatever the case, you still can get 6 figures plus in funding. So just keep that in mind. But everything else you want to have on point. Example, he doesn't have any derogatory accounts at all. So this is what you want to bring to the table. Like, you don't want to have only 4K highest credit limit. Total credit limits is only like 10K or something. But then you still got derogatory items. Like, you want to bring something to the table that will make lenders say, you know what, I want to give this person money for their company, right? The minimum total accounts I like to see is 10. And this client has at least 10 with each 3 of the credit bureaus, TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. So that's cool. No recent accounts, which is also very important too. When you're applying for funding, you have to really balance out, right? Before you go for business funding, if you have to add a card or two, that's fine. We do that all the time. We just had another client. We added like 2 or 3 personal credit cards before we were able to go for the big funding. Now that client has hit 100K, but you don't want to go too crazy with this. Only add as much as you need to add, really. Like, you don't want to add in like 5, 6 personal credit cards and then apply for funding right after that, because you're going to have these recent accounts that's going to drag your overall age of credit history. You don't want to do that. Lenders don't like to see that you've applied for credit too frequently. And that's one of the main reasons why we remove inquiries off our clients' credit reports, or you can remove them yourself, is because you don't want to have all those inquiries on your credit reports and then you apply for more funding or whatever the case, but you just apply for like 5 credit cards and inquiries still there and everything. So something to consider. Hard inquiries, 3, 6, and then 6 with TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. But don't worry, this is before we actually remove them, or this is like more recent after the last round that we did. But we're going to get anything that's not attached to an open account, we're going to get it removed anyway, so who cares? Okay, just some of the notes real quick. Normally, I will say where the client would state that the client is in. So the client is in North Carolina. Make this a little bit bigger. The client is in North Carolina. The client has a business that's been in business for 5 years. Now, when you have a business, an LLC that's a lot more tenured, this is going to help too. So that's my information to bring to you today. If you don't remember anything else, I want you to understand that you want to bring something to the table. I always tell you guys that. Bring something to the table. This client doesn't have the absolute strongest profile that I've ever seen, right? However, that he has this LLC that's been around for at least 5 years. 5 years is really good for having an LLC. Really, really good. So now he looks less risky to lenders when we go and apply for funding, because at least his LLC has been established. Guys, if you had an LLC for like 10 years, but you just started making money 2 years ago, maybe that's an extreme example. Let's just say you had an LLC like this for 5 years, but you've only been actively making money in the business for a year or 2 years. Normally, when you apply for funding, they're going to take it as if you've been in business those whole 5 years. So that's why it's best. Always start your LLC as soon as possible. If you're watching this video and you have not started your LLC yet, but you want to be in business, what are you doing? Go ahead and start the LLC. It doesn't matter. Stop trying to get everything perfect and I got to wait to this, wait to that. Just start the LLC, because the more tenured that you are in business, the easier it is to get funded. So what are you waiting for? Now, this client, interesting enough, in the next note, is in a high-risk industry, normally for funding. But the way that we do that, like we used to do a lot when it came to high-risk industries and stuff like that, but we just have a certain way of going about it. Since we work with so many relationship managers, like it's pretty cool. Like we can get around the whole high risk thing. So we're not really worried about high risk industries for the most part. It really depends. Now, if your business is like you're the adult industry, even like entertainment, what else? I mean, you got to watch even with the real estate LLCs, anything in the financial realm too, as well. If you're in certain industries and it's in your business's name, yeah, then there may be certain things that we have to do to get around that. Sometimes you got to open a whole new LLC. Sometimes you got to amend your business's name, whatever works out best, whatever is the best strategy to get you there as soon as possible. However, sometimes even when clients are in a high risk industry, we're still able to get around that. No problem at all. Now, we had to remove inquiries before applying for funding. And we had to lower some credit utilization initially before applying for funding too as well, because the client came in, was probably like over 20% or something like that. We have certain methods that we use to get lower, get the client's credit utilization lower before we apply. Now, before we go into the banks, let's look at some of the client's personal credit cards. So the client has Citibank, GS Bank USA. I believe that's the Apple card. Look like Wells Fargo, Chase, and then the Amex Gold. So the client did have a relationship with Chase and American Express and Wells Fargo, Citi, and the Apple card beforehand. These are some pretty decent credit cards here. However, the overall was only 20K. And I'm saying only 20K. The 20K is great. Like nothing is wrong with it at all. but it's not the absolute strongest, right? Like a lot of people that I've seen have at least 20K on the personal side. However, again, when I say there's nothing wrong with it, it's like this may be all you need, right? I'm not saying like you have to have more, but the higher you go for funding, the higher you really want this number to be up to a certain point. Because you guys that have like 250K in personal credit limits, like, first of all, unless you spending that amount, you could be spending that amount now. Like, I ain't saying that like 250K is like a cutoff line, but if you have 250K in personal limits and you don't even spend you spend like 10K a month on your cards, just stop it, man. It's like, stop getting personal cards. Put all that energy on the business side. Get business funding if you're a business owner, obviously. But if you're here, you probably are. So if you're a business owner, stop getting personal credit cards. If you hit like 150, 200, like, stop. Just go on the business side, man. You're blowing up your personal credit for what? Because the banks don't really like to see that, again, unless you're spending that much. Now, if you're spending, cool. But if you're not spending that much, like, stop getting more personal cards. I guarantee you're going to use it on the business side. You will never have enough money on the business side. I don't care what it is, what the situation is. You could never have enough money in funding on the business side. I don't care how successful you are, how profitable you are, because there's always a way to either gain points, gain cash, gain rewards, and to have just money laid aside to cover all types of situations. Right, when you're at a lower scale, you like a 5 or 10K a month, you're at like the lower 6-figure range. Normally, the CEO minds is not thinking about the things that could go wrong in the amount of money you really need to scale and hire and do different things when it comes to marketing, how much money you really have to spend on marketing to be able to grow a sustainable company. So don't think about how you think right now. Think long term. I'm telling you, you can never have enough money on the business side. Focus that money or focus those limits not on the personal side. Do it on the business side, because I'm telling you, you can never have enough. That's another thing. If you don't take anything else, remember, you can never have enough business funding. All right. All right. To a certain extent, too, because you don't want to blow up your 0%. You get 250K and 0%, but you only plan on using 50. So there are some nuances with what I'm saying here, but in general, you can never have too much money for your business. Now, you made it up to this point. Let's talk about exactly which banks that we went to hit that 126K. So I'm going to back up just a little bit here, and then let's look. So you have 126K. And here are the banks, 4 banks we went to. Chase Bank, that was a 50K approval. We went to American Express. That was 38K total. It was more than one card, to be very clear here. We went to Truist Bank. That's 20K. And also we went to Wells Fargo. That's 18K. You add that up, 126K. Pretty easy. We really didn't have any hitches. Like, all of these were all approved. Like, these are the first 4 banks we went to, and he didn't get any denials at all. So it was pretty smooth. 126K right out the door. So pretty easy stuff, at least for us, right? I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that, if you just watch this video, you can just go out and do the same thing. But for us, like, this is a pretty standard process. We just had so many clients hit over 100K. I mean, it's just a repeatable process, and we know what we're doing. But this is the 4 banks that we went to. And we went to relationship managers for everyone except for American Express. So with Truist, Wells Fargo, and Chase Bank, we work with relationship managers. We made a connection, and that's how we got those limits and that easy, especially the 50K from Chase. Normally, you won't see that from online applications. I mean, you can comment below and tell me if you have seen it, but I haven't seen 50K on the online application yet. Nuances there, but for the most part, no. But that's the banks that we went to. Those are the relevant data points that I wanted to talk about, and just a few more nuggets I wanted to drop in there. But that's pretty much it. You guys let me know if you have any questions. I'm serious. Like, if you got any questions, like, literally shoot them below. Respond, not respond. I ain't ending out. Forget it. Engage with me as we build up to 1K subscribers. And that's pretty much it. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want more funding videos, because guess what? They coming your way. All right, y'all. Let's get it.